Hi everyone, my name is Chris, and welcome to Anime Debate, the show where we put two anime head to head. This week we're going to compare one of my favorite animes of all time to its sequel. This is Steins Gate versus Steins Gate Zero. Now let me give you guys the rundown of how we're going to do this, because this is going to be a little bit different from my normal anime comparisons. Since these shows are very much so in the same line, in the same universe, I don't want to dig too deep into things like, like characterization or music. The music is very similar. So I'm gonna stick to the more core things, but I will discuss characters because they are a core part of this series as a whole. So just to be warned, this will not follow the usual beat by beat comparison structure. So let's just dig into it. So Steins Gate versus Steins Gate Zero. What are the plots? Well, Steins Gate is about a mad scientist known as Helen Kiyoma, aka like 9 other things. He has so many names in the show, I don't keep it straight. And you can call him Okabe if you want to keep it short, but he has a ton of names throughout the series. But that being said, it's about an eccentric young man who, with his friends, plays mad scientist, has a lot of fun, and then one day accidentally invents a time machine. And then everything goes awry in his life. He meets a girl who's also a scientist he falls in love with, and I won't spoil it more than that. If I do, the show gets too wonky, but all you need to know is that at the end of the day, time travel comes into play, and it's a big freaking deal. And then it ends, and it's beautiful, and you love the characters all the way through. Now, with Steins Gate Zero, the plot rolls into a little bit of a different conundrum. Now, we get to see the ending of the original Steins Gate, but what if the character that we know and love, Helen Kiyoma, aka Okabe, becomes broken by his exploits in the previous series? What happens if the same character doesn't have the spirit to continue to fight on, doesn't have the support of his friends to continue to believe in things he once believed in, and kind of breaks down in a way, going through some kind of psychological trauma? You get to see how that will play out in that version of the series. It doesn't tell you very much. Time travel does come into play here as well in a very big way. It's very important. They introduce new characters, but ultimately between the two plots, they're very similar. But I will say that for the fun factor and enjoyability, I have to give it to the original Steins Gate, because to be real, the new Steins Gate Zero, is just very bleak. And that's the best way to really explain it. It's a very bleak show almost all the way through. That's not a spoiler, that's just how things play out. If I have to compare the two shows immediately right up in front of you, I'll tell you that it feels like they run in kind of a weird continuum of infinity, which is kind of beautiful in a sense, because one show starts out very lighthearted, very fun, and then gets bleak as you go on, and the other one starts out very bleak and then picks up towards the end. I think they did that on purpose so you can see and expect what's going to come later in the series. It really does help to watch both these series back to back to really get the full picture. You don't need it, but it'll mean more to you, and you'll see and understand why it's such a big deal when Okabe goes through something of a change later in one of the series. It really does bring a smile to my heart. It really does make me feel like I'm connected to the characters and the world as a whole when certain things happen. And I really think you'll be much more rewarded if you watch both of these series. Now let's move on in the comparison sense to the characters. Now the characters are very much the same, except for Okabe. Okabe is the heart of the show in Steins Gate original. He is very much like very fun and like the reason you watch, you wait for his speeches. In both the dub and the sub, he is something to be enjoyed. But then over on the side of Steins Gate Zero, he's very, very, very emotional, very, very, very sad, very, very, very emo, and you don't love him as much, but you do feel for him more. He's a much more fleshed out character. You see him suffer, you see him be happy, you see him go through these range of emotions. You see it a lot more often, but the range of emotions really do end in him mostly being a bit of a whiner and a bit of just not someone you want to hang out with, to be real. It's a good characterization. They do a really good job of showing how broken he is. You got to think about the fact that if you went through multiple timelines of someone you know and love dying, you would be broken if you were the only person that remembered it. I mean, that's just how it would go for you. I mean, there's no other way to explain it, except for, in the original Steins Gate, where he has support to bring him back to where he should be. The other characters in the show, of course, are his. I'm not gonna give names because I just don't want you to know too much. But you have the girl he loves. You have the girl that he cares for a lot. Okay, you have, and I'll use this one name because his name is important. You have Ruka, who's a dude. Like, it's constantly confusing me when I watch both series because Ruka, in my opinion, is crazy attractive. But then you found out that, you know, again, it's a dude, and it becomes a funny little plot in the original Steins Gate. And they don't play it for laughs here. They just kind of let it be a matter of fact. They don't retread the same ground, which I have to say applaud them for, because it could easily just, you know, still time with that. But really, the characters mostly go unchanged aside from Okabe, so it's kind of hard to really compare because they're basically the same. But I mean, just for me, again, for fun factor, I'm gonna go with the original Okabe, even though the new Okabe has more character development. And that is important, but I think you should be enjoying the character that you're supposed to be rooting for. There is a big payoff later in the show that does make it all worth it. So maybe I'm wrong here. You know what? I'm gonna reverse my decision. Let's just give it a tie, because they're good for different reasons. Now, again, this show is very much driven by character and very much the reason why it became my favorite anime. And they took away that part, like for most of the series, that gave me the most enjoyment. So I totally understand why people wouldn't agree with me, but that's just my thoughts. Now, again, I said music's not a big deal. It's mostly the same. The one thing I will give them credits, though, to in the new Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero is very much so that they did a really good job of playing around with the end music thing. Every time there was a sub ending or something they needed to kind of portray for the story, they would do it through the music at the end, and it was always powerful. It always meant something. The other series didn't do that as much or as well, and I think they really did excel in that realm. So for that reason, even though I'm not really comparing the music, I do want to give Steins Gate Zero a little bit of love for that particular device they used. Now, you can also say that this series, Steins Gate Zero, is very much a series about redemption, about love, about comparison. It has so many themes going on throughout it. You know, I feel like the original Steins Gate is much more simple in its execution, and yet once it gets to a point where things become bleak, in that series even, you can still see the light. You don't really expect the light as much in Steins Gate Zero. And so it's just a welcome departure from what could have been a very lazily written series. I just wanted to throw it out there because I was thinking about it. The next thing I want to compare really is the character design, aka the art. Now, because Steins Gate is obviously older, it doesn't look as good. When you look at Steins Gate Zero, you see the crisper lines, you see more detail. The characters are simply drawn, but they even give those characters more detail, more shadow, more definition. They just stand out more. When you compare it directly to the original Steins Gate, it makes the older characters look a little flat. And I feel bad for saying that, but they do. They just look a little flat in comparison. I'm like, wait. These are the same people? Really? I mean, even like his Okabe's best friend, who's the bigger guy, the chubby otaku, he looks so much better in Steins Gate Zero. It's crazy. So for that reason, we're gonna give animation quality to Steins Gate Zero, even though it has an unfair advantage by being a slightly, newer series. All right, next guys, let's move into one of my favorite parts of the shows, where we kind of just break down inconsistencies and things that I just noticed throughout the show. So this is a very, 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 very minor spoiler. It does not tell you anything about the plot and where it goes, but I just want to bring it up. So Steins Gate Zero had one very confusing portion to me. Throughout the entire series, both Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero, they had a very established way in which you time travel, and it's normally through either the machine or the D-mail. And randomly, though, there is one point which really confused me. So if you saw the series and you have an answer to this, please let me know. One of the characters is able to run so fast that he time travels. And I don't know how he was able to do it. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm not telling you who it was, but some character is able to run really, really, really fast, and they just run and travel the time. I don't get how that works. It's the only inconsistency in the entire series, really. Like, between the two. So for that reason, I gotta give, just total continuum to Steins Gate, unless someone can tell me why. I really don't get it. And what the heck is a hikoboshi? What is that? What is that? I looked it up on freaking Wikipedia, and it says something crazy that doesn't tell me anything. So it's probably a Japanese thing that I'll never understand. But still, I'm like, what is that? Ugh! All right. Guys, let's move into the final part of this anime comparison, because of course we can't get too deep without telling you overall which series was better. Now, depending on who you are, you may have a different opinion than me. So please keep that in mind and let me know down below by leaving a comment and just talking about what you thought about the series. I'll be doing an overall series review of Steins Gate Zero following this video, so you have that to look forward to. So let's just dig into this. So, which series is best? Steins Gate versus Steins Gate Zero. Steins Gate for me was something of an experience. It's something of a religion almost. I fell in love with these characters. I fell in love with the world. I fell in love with what they did. I love time travel as a device in general. If you don't do it right, it gets messy. And I felt like Steins Gate did it perfectly. Not only that, but they also wrote characters that you fell in love with, you laughed with, you enjoyed, you really felt like they were like part of your family in a sense. Over on the side of Steins Gate Zero, they take those same characters and they give them very bleak definitions, they give them very bleak circumstances, and you see how they go through it. It's like seeing a friend deal with a struggle, or a friend deal with depression, or a friend deal with something that's just harder, and you almost want to like go like, hey man, it'll be okay, and then kind of let them have their space. But yet, this series did a really good job of keeping you engaged. The story, in my opinion, is better executed. The story is better plotted out, and every single turn that you want to walk away from the show because you feel so bad and so depressed, you can't, because they introduce a new thing that makes you go, what? I gotta see what happens next. I gotta see what happens next. I can't stop watching. It is indulgently more binge-worthy than the original Steins Gate. It is. You can't put it down. You can't stop watching it. While you kind of hate that the characters are suffering and the characters don't seem to be as strongly executed as they were in the original series, you still feel for them. You still feel like they're part of your family. But the thing is, that was established by the original Steins Gate. If you didn't have the original Steins Gate to establish those feelings or those relationships, you really wouldn't care as much for these characters, because they seem to be kind of one note and not as defined as they were previously, as I've already said. So, ultimately, when it comes down to it, with the music, with the art, with the storytelling ability, with the plot devices, with all of it, how does it all come together? Which one is better? Ultimately, for me, I like enjoying watching anime. I like laughing. I mean, honestly, it kind of sucked that Steins Gate Zero pulled out almost all the comedy. They still had the quirks. Like, there's one character that goes, toot-toot, or okie dokie. Like, they had little like lines like that. They were very reminiscent of the original series, but there was nothing really particularly funny to laugh at. There was like one new character they introduced that I really enjoy, but she also didn't have a lot of comedy to her. She had just a lot of like darkness in her and a lot of envious feelings, and you know, you felt for her for certain reasons, but she didn't bring anything new to the table that we didn't already have, with other characters already being so dark. So I just have a hard time saying that, you know, even though this one has, you know, a better story overall, that Steins Gate Zero isn't worse, because it's just not as enjoyable to watch. Frankly, Steins Gate Zero is the best anime we've had this season. This whole season, it's the best we've had. But if you compare it to its original, it's just not better. It's not. You don't enjoy watching it as much. There were certain points where I wanted to cut it off, but I got pulled back in. I never felt that way with Steins Gate, the original. The original Steins Gate kept me engaged all the way through, and I was enjoying it all the way. Even when things got dark there, you knew there was a light coming, because Okabe would never give up. I often thought that Okabe was just gonna give up and just you know, live his life kind of depressed and just dealing with that anxiety forever. And that was just a bleak, like, acceptance of mine. There were several times when I thought that series was gonna end and it didn't. I was happy it kept going. So I'm like, you know what, I'd be satisfied with that, but it wouldn't be the best ending in the world. But I digress. Ultimately, the better of the two series is the original Steins Gate. Just gonna say it. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts down below. When I say that, I actually mean it. Other YouTubers go, well, I wanna hear your thoughts. I actually reply to people. I actually get in the conversation. I actually debate you on what your thoughts were. So let's do it down below. If you guys want to see me do other anime and compare them head to head, let me know what you want to see in the next anime debate. In the meantime, though, you will have the Steins Gate Zero review that should be up. And other than that, check out my other stuff, guys. I'll see you next time. Anime out. Am I really gonna do that? Is that really what we're gonna do now? Anime out. Ugh. What am I, a samurai?